Hello, I'm Zeke, and welcome to the Zekely Podcast. Let's talk Pennsylvania. The guest I have today was born and raised in my hometown of Lancaster, Pennsylvania. He's a civic leader, social justice warrior, and currently serving as a state representative in Lancaster County. Thank you so much for being here, Representative Izzy Smith-Wade-El.
I'm Zeke, a doctor, a Pennsylvanian, and an unapologetic supporter of democratic values. You might have seen me on social media working my ass off for Democrats and meeting some pretty amazing people along the way, like President Barack Obama and Governor Josh Shapiro. For years, I've knocked thousands of doors all over Pennsylvania and poured my heart and soul into supporting candidates and causes that make a difference, from local school board races to national elections. The personal is political, and I take every election in Pennsylvania personally. Where the mainstream media has failed you, I will give you truth and independence. You'll hear from Democratic leaders, candidates, and change makers who are working to improve the health of the Commonwealth, and it won't be boring as hell. No matter where you are, I'll meet you with hope and a plan to make your community better one day at a time. Welcome to the Zekely Podcast. Let's talk Pennsylvania.
Thank you, Zeke, and thank you to everybody watching and listening. We really appreciate that on this election eve.
Absolutely. I hope that when this airs a week from now, we're all going to be, celebrating and enjoying the state justices we retain and getting more Democrats elected up and down the ballot.
That's exactly right. And we do have, as many people are forgetting, not just like 5 justices, not just Judge Delasai and Brandon Newman, but my hope is that we're going to see a much deserved wave of school board and municipal candidates elected. Just like in Lancaster, we're going to elect some folks in places where people never thought we could elect Democrats. We're flipping entire school boards in those places.
I can't wait to see the results. I really can't wait. Well, Izzy, all the best people are from Lancaster, right?
I agree,
I actually just learned, you might have known this already, Jonathan Groff grew up in Lancaster. Did you know that?
Oh, yes.
I did not know that.
I don't know if you know this about me. I have a theater degree, so I'm well aware that Jonathan Groff was from Lancaster.
Okay, I did not know that, and I love Jonathan Groff, everything he does, and so I thought that was fantastic. So we're going to have so much fun, learn all about you, play some games. Ready?
Yep.
All right. Well, I heard that you're a big Lord of the Rings fan. Is that true?
I'm a pretty big Lord of the Rings fan. I do an annual rewatch on my birthday.
Okay, so that's much more than me. I think they're great movies to study too. When I was in college, I would just put them on in the background, get through like movie 1, movie 2. It was deep in the game, get locked in. So we're going to play a game. It's called You Shall or Shall Not Pass. Okay. So I'm going to give you some possible legislation and you're going to tell me if it's shall or shall, but you have to do it in the voice. Okay. I want you to tap into your theater studies and give it to me like you mean it. Okay. All right. First one, sensible gun reform in the Commonwealth.
Obviously, that one's going to pass.
I gotta get, come on, you gotta give it to me.
Oh, sorry. I thought it was just for the no. You shall pass.
There we go. All right, good. Okay, here's the second one. All right, sustainable funding for public transportation in the Commonwealth.
A wizard is never late nor early. He arrives precisely when he intends to.
But shall it pass?
It shall pass.
It shall pass. All right. What about, here's one, restricting access to reproductive health care in the Commonwealth.
You shall not pass.
Yeah, thank you.
That one's easy.
All right, here's another one. Banning books on diversity, equity, and inclusion. Shall that pass or shall that not pass?
There's, I feel like, a Gandalf the White joke I should be able to summon here that I can't at just this moment. But you shall not pass.
Excellent. All right, here's the last one. Raising the minimum wage in the Commonwealth.
You shall pass.
Thank you. Thank you. I love it. I felt it deep in my bones. I really appreciate that. That was good. Izzy, you became the first Black and non-binary state rep in history to be elected in Lancaster County. I'm a big proponent of representation matters, and I'm sure for you and your family it meant a lot. But I can only imagine what it meant to people like you seeing you step into that role.
Especially in Lancaster, the thing is, people don't know that we're here. And I think this is true for a lot of the thriving communities of central Pennsylvania. They assume central Pennsylvania is rural, and rural for a lot of people, and I think this does a disservice, is sort of a code word for white.
Mm.
But there are thousands of African Americans, thousands of Latino folks, and really thriving queer communities in Lancaster, in Harrisburg, in York. And coming to the legislature felt very much like a vindication of some of this. Like, I've sat in rooms with union guys from Philly and Pittsburgh who really don't know that
Mhm.
Lancaster has these massive African American Latino communities. And so often we hear from folks who don't understand why it's important to do Spanish outreach in Lancaster. They find that really deeply confusing. Like, that's the job, Zeke. If you are not able to bring your experience and your identity and your work to representing your folks in the legislature, you should find a different gig or get more in touch with yourself. So
Mm.
yes, it did feel very good, and it's a real opportunity to change people's understanding of what Lancaster looks like, and
Mhm.
more importantly, what Lancaster is capable of.
Yeah. I think it's wonderful, and I just wanted to spotlight that because I think it's great for yourself, great for the community, and great for Lancaster.
Yeah, thank you.
Izzy, why are you a Democrat, and why do you choose to represent the Democratic Party?
That's a great question. I think, I was raised by someone who frankly had much more radical politics than I did. But when I think about my political heroes of the modern era, that's where my values align. And that's who has been willing to step up when I have reached out. Like, I have my critiques of the state and national Democratic Party, but when I have looked for a political home to organize events with Black and Latino communities, to organize events for the LGBTQ plus communities, the Democrats are the folks who said, yes, we'll dive into that with you. And like, that's my version of political analysis. At
Mhm.
the end of the day, who's willing to step into the ring at your side?
I agree with you. I mean, the Democratic Party has the largest tent,
Mhm.
and it has the moral fabric that I feel like we share the most. So I'm really appreciative that we share those same morals and values, and you carry that to Harrisburg. Well, Izzy, it has been 100 days, over 100 days, and the state Senate Republicans still have yet to pass a budget for Pennsylvania. I have to imagine how extremely frustrating this is for you and your Democratic colleagues in the House. I mean, how many budgets have you passed? Is it 13 now? How many have you passed?
We have sent more than a dozen
Yeah.
bills over to the Senate. And here's the thing that bums me out more than anything else. I'm in touch with the organization that runs my local domestic violence shelter. I am in touch with food banks, and I am in touch with parents who are engaged in activism around public education. And the thing, it bums me out, Zeke. They can't find our state senator. At this point, 4 months in, they are
Yeah.
in my office because our state senator is hiding from them. Like, he's
Yeah.
not taking community meetings. If you have to hide from your constituents, you
Mhm.
got to quit. For
Yeah.
whatever reason, you might have good or bad reasons. If you feel like you can't face your constituents, you got to move on. Like, stand on business and say, look, we're not passing this budget because the Democrats refuse to add vouchers to it, right? Like, we
Mhm.
call that standing up for public education. They want vouchers or so-called school choice. Be willing to stand on your own business and
Mhm.
say that to people, because like, for a grown person to hide from their constituents, you got to get a new job.
It's terrible. I mean, how many parallels are there, right? I mean, we literally have a government shutdown
Right.
in Congress because of Republicans not wanting to basically give people health care. And
Yeah.
in our very own state of Pennsylvania, we're not passing a budget because Senate Republicans refuse to do their jobs. I mean, this is why it's so important to get Democrats elected up and down the ballot. It's not just in one place, it is literally translated to all levels of government where Republican politicians just are not serious about legislating or passing laws or making things better for their constituents.
Right. Zeke, I would go further to say they've abdicated from the idea of government, which is
Right,
really the idea that we can come together as a community and do better than we
right.
could as individuals. And my Republican colleagues in the Senate have abandoned that idea.
Yeah. I'm really grateful for what you're doing in
Thank you.
Harrisburg to keep the ball rolling. I'm grateful we have a Democratic governor, Josh Shapiro, who does everything he can to move money around
Yeah.
and protect people in Pennsylvania, not just Democrats, not just Republicans, not just independents, not just libertarians, all people living in
Everybody.
Pennsylvania. And I know that you're part of that solution. So thank you very much. Izzy, we both have some heavy names. Okay. I mean, we do. My grandmother told me that it's a heavy burden to carry, the name Ezekiel. Ezekiel is my full name, but nobody calls me Ezekiel. Your full name is Ismail, but everyone calls you Izzy.
Yes.
So I can understand that. Did you like your name growing up? Because I hated my name growing up.
I get a little emotional about this. It was right around the time I was getting reattached to my name. And of course, this is not like the most important thing that happened on that day. Right around the time I was getting attached to my name, I was 11. And then, September 11th happened. We got to see, I think, some deep simmering racism and Islamophobia that we had in this country that often erupts in response to trauma, in response to victimhood. And I think that's important to understand, not condone, but understand.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, I had this name, which I had come to love. And all of a sudden, I wanted to hide it again.
Right. Yeah.
And that was a strange thing to be thinking about. My aunt worked at the Pentagon. She died that day. So, like, I know very deeply that's not the most important thing that happened that day, but, like, it sort of hurt. Like, in addition to the lives lost and the incredible tragedy, the public reaction and the continued, right? Like, I'm not talking about a week, 2 week, a month, 5 years, 10 years, like the continued Islamophobia and racism hurt the national project. And that's a thing that I think about a lot. That was like a really deep answer to a question about a name. It's just
It's okay. It went in one direction and then it took a turn. But, first of all, I'm sorry about your aunt. That's terrible. I'm very sorry. And I'll never forget, one of my colleagues is Muslim. And he told me that when the planes hit the towers, he was praying that they weren't Muslim on the plane because he knew what was going to happen if they were. And, his family really suffered a lot of discrimination from that. So thank you for that story. I mean, it makes everything much more real. Well, let's lighten things up a little bit. Okay, we're gonna play a name game. Okay, where you're gonna try to rename some things. I think could use a little like updating personally.
Sure.
Okay, I think you'll agree with me. So here's the first one: cover slut. I didn't even know what it was initially. It's an outer garment worn to conceal untidy clothing. It's an actual word, cover slut.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. I feel like we should update that word a little bit. What did the cover slut ever do to someone to get that name?
Yeah, no, that's rude. I would not appreciate being called out of my name like that.
Yeah.
But some kind of like decency poncho, a modesty muumuu.
A modesty muumuu. I love it. Okay, great. We have two more. Dick Sissel. It's a common migratory black-throated finch. I guess I don't know what that bird did to get that name, but
I'm not even sure I'm going to be helpful here, Zeke. I actually think that we have let ornithologists run amok with bird names for far too long.
Out of control, just out of control. How that wound up being named that. I don't even have a good comeback for that.
No,
one.
I've got nothing there. But if there are any ornithologists listening to this, like, what's happening?
What happened?
What's going on for y'all?
Yeah, what is the origin story of the person who named that bird? I would be happy if just what was black-throated finch. I think that's very proper sounding and noble.
Sure.
We'll just go with that. All right, here's the last one after grand finale. Tease hole. It is the opening in a glassmaker's furnace through which the fuel is added. A tease hole.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Was like just hole not available?
I guess not. They're like, no, we're gonna tease it. We're gonna tease the hole as we fuel this fire for glass making.
Or like at least like feed hole. Like what?
I don't know.
Why are we doing this? Like what?
I don't know.
Again, I have to ask glass makers, glass blowers, what's going on?
I once went to the Corningware Glass Museum, and I should have asked that question. I was just too embarrassed at the time. So maybe next time, Izzy. Maybe next time. Izzy, you have spoken publicly about depression and anxiety in your life and how important it is to address mental health. And I completely agree with you. I have a therapist. I talk about it often on my show. So there are two issues at hand, right? We have it's access to mental health services. That's a problem, right?
Yep.
And also the stigma of using mental health services. So how do you think we could try and address both of those issues?
In my 20s, I got to the point where I was suicidal. And my mother had to call local crisis services for me. I had to be talked down by a very patient, professional gentleman who sat with me for an hour and followed up with me and made sure that I didn't throw away the opportunity that is life.
Mm,
And 11 years forward from that, I am representing my community in the Pennsylvania House of Representatives. And so I try to tell everybody that I talk to, you don't know. You don't know what the future holds for you. And there really is a lot of possibility if you stick with it. The legislation is out there, it is written and drafted. I've never been so insulted in my work as a state rep as to hear the counter arguments. We proposed expanding funding for the 988 hotline to make sure that when people pick up the phone and they're in a
mhm.
crisis, that someone is on the other end. And the price tag for that was a 6-cent fee on a cell phone bill. Not $6, 6 cents.
6 cents.
When someone said to them, for a nickel and a penny, you can keep more Pennsylvanians from dying by suicide, they said, that's not our role.
Yeah, it's just disgusting. It's just no, I mean, as a physician, I'm deeply offended
Yeah,
because I took an oath to do no harm.
right.
And then that oath doesn't start and stop when I go in and leave the hospital. It's my job, I feel very much so, to speak up against nefarious laws and lawmakers who
Yeah,
would make the lives of my patients and people all over the Commonwealth's lives harder. And I just think it is an abomination that people who have the power to make mental health more accessible would not do that for people. So I'm
right.
just really grateful that you are continuing to stand up for the mental health of people in the Commonwealth. And when given the opportunity, I know that you will push that through. We just have to flip the state Senate, Izzy. We have
It's
to flip the state Senate.
We've got to. I feel bad often when I talk to folks because folks are like, what is the solution to this? And I'm like, elect 3 more Democratic senators.
Yeah,
I'm so sorry. We have to.
I agree. We have to keep doing the work. The buck has and always will stop at the voter. So we have to do our part to get you there. Well, Izzy, while I was Googling all about you,
Oh boy.
I discovered there is an elementary school in Lancaster named after your mother.
That's true.
The Smith-Wade-El Elementary School, named after Dr. Rita Smith-Wade-El.
Yes.
She was a Millersville University professor, social justice advocate,
Yes.
and a leader. I mean, what an amazing family legacy you have.
Oh my God. I famously a mama's boy over here, but I am just so proud
Yeah.
of my mother, like her story and the things that she accomplished. She was born extremely poor in segregated Washington, D.C., and she went from there to 3 Ivy League schools to here to where she has a school named after her. So,
I
yes,
agree.
I'm very proud to be
Yeah.
a child of Dr. Rita Smith-Wade-El. The coolest part about that, maybe the funniest part, I was city council president at the time. So
Mhm.
I said, while the school board's making this decision, I'm going to stay out. I was doing call time. I was raising funds to run for office to get this job. And all of a sudden, it was a Wednesday night. I could not make an outgoing call on my phone from all the texts and phone calls coming in. And the two options, and this will always blow me away, the two options were my mother and Ruby Bridges.
Oh my God. She beat Ruby Bridges?
Ruby Bridges, Zeke. And so, just to be given that honor as a
Wow.
family by the community, you have an obligation to that, right? Like,
Yeah.
there's the community honored my mother, me, and my family. And I want to honor and serve this community
Yeah.
in return, of course.
Amazing. Well, may her memory be a blessing.
Thank you.
And just what an amazing story. And congratulations. All right, Izzy, it's time for another segment that I do with state reps. It's called Constitu-What, where you tell me and the listeners and viewers, what types of constituent services do you provide in Lancaster County?
Oh, gosh. My favorite constituent service story is this, Zeke. One of the services that we provide, we help people fill out pardon applications. We connect them with pardon lawyers. And we have some relationship to the Secretary of Pardons so we can advocate on folks' behalf. We were doing a pardon clinic at a community center. A gentleman walks in, and this gentleman has a Make America Great Again hat on
Mm-hmm.
and a camo Trump t-shirt. Fine, cool, whatever. I don't agree with that, but we help everybody. That's
Right.
what we do.
That's what we do.
So, I walk up to him and I say, "Hey man, how can I help you?" He's like, "I'm here for the pardon clinic. My name's Ben." And I say, "Ben, what's going on?" And he says, "I have a felony from when I was 29, and my wife and I want to move into a senior living facility, but
Mm-hmm.
we can't." Now, this is a man who is being kept out of housing by a 30-year-old criminal record. So I'm like, "Yes, absolutely, we want to help you with that. Where are you from?" And he says, "I'm from Elizabethtown." Now, Elizabethtown is about 30 minutes from Lancaster City in the northwest corner of the county. So I'm saying, "Great, happy to help you. How did you get here from Elizabethtown? Like, what brought you down here?" And he said, "Well, I told one of my friends about this problem, and they said you should go to your state representative's office." And I did. I went to their office, and they said, "We don't really do that kind of thing, but Izzy's office does if you drive down into the city."
What?
And it's a couple pieces of paper. Like, it is really not something that was beyond them. But so just to have, in a frankly very white, very conservative part of the county, one of my colleagues say, "Yeah, we can't help you with your criminal history, with your justice involvement history. Why don't you go into the city and talk to Izzy?"
I mean, you did more than his state rep did, who I'm assuming is Republican. I mean, I only have to assume that his Republican state rep said, "I can't help you. Go to Izzy." That was his response. I mean, that's just terrible. I mean, it's great that you helped him, but terrible that he had to get transportation, 30 minutes into the city where he doesn't live,
Right.
and you helped him out. I really hope that changes his perception. You may not have even talked about partisanship in that interaction at all, but the fact that, you did that, took care of him as a human being, something his own state rep couldn't do, speaks volumes about the Democratic Party. I just, when people try to tell me both sides are the same, they're not. They're just not the same. They're not at the local level. They're not at the state level. They're not at the national level. I have to say, I really hope I do hear back from you someday about this person's housing situation, and you by far take the cake for Constitu-What. That was a wonderful story, Izzy. Wonderful story. Izzy, you recently launched Refresh Lancaster, which is a mobile hygiene unit which delivers showers, social services, and medical attention to homeless Lancastrians. So, what a great initiative.
Mhm.
And again, to me, this is a form of preventative medicine. If people are not clean, if they don't have medical attention, where do you think they're going to wind up when they're really sick? In the
That's right.
emergency rooms. And that's going to cost taxpayers even more money to take care of a acute on chronic problem. So, I think it's great. I really hope that it continues.
Yeah, that's actually one that we put together in my last year working for the Lancaster County Homelessness
Mhm.
Coalition. And it goes all over the county, works in partnership with our local ambulance services. And yes, provides showers, but also it's staffed by EMTs. They provide
Mhm.
wound care. And sometimes what people need is just a clean pair of socks, the
Right. Yeah.
opportunity to get clean.
Yeah.
I like to think that in addition to providing health, we're helping provide dignity in that project. And so for me, this is a great example. A lot of those folks are folks that should be in homes where they have access to, a shower and clothes and et cetera, et cetera. They don't have it right now, and it's a big leap to get there. So we're going to do the next best thing for our neighbors and make sure they can get a shower and some clean clothes and some
Right.
wound care while we work on bringing them home.
Mhm. I think it's great. I mean, healthcare is a human right. I firmly believe that. And people deserve to have dignity. I
Yep.
mean, you just deserve to have human dignity to get yourself cleaned up. So thank you so very much for doing that initiative. I think it's wonderful.
Absolutely.
Izzy, we're going to play another game,
Okay.
Lancaster County Trivia.
Oh
Okay?
boy.
Let's see how well you know our stomping grounds, okay?
Okay.
So Lancaster briefly served as the nation's what on September 27th, 1777?
We served as the capital
That is
of
true.
this fine nation while they were fleeing Philadelphia. The Continental Congress was in flight from the British Army.
That's right. During the Revolutionary War. Very good. You're off to a good start.
Right?
All right. Who opened his first candy shop? The Lancaster Caramel Company in Lancaster in 1866.
Milton Hershey.
You got it. Very good. Yeah. And by the way, is it caramel or caramel? I might judge. I know we're not supposed to judge, but I might a little bit.
Hold on, I got to
Caramel.
think about this.
Caramel or caramel? Caramel. Some people say
I
caramel.
think I say caramel.
Good, because there's an A in there.
There is an A in there, but I think I've been positively influenced by watching the Great British Bake Off.
Oh, that's a lovely show. You know who got me into that? Malcolm Kenyatta. Malcolm Kenyatta got me to that show. Okay.
That makes sense.
Yeah. It is quite a lovely show. All right, here's the next one.
Yep.
Lancaster County is home to the world's largest what community with a population that has doubled since 1990?
I assume it's the world's largest Amish community.
That is correct. Very
Okay.
good. You're crushing
I've
this
heard a
right
rumor
now.
that Ohio had more than us, but okay.
No, it's still Lancaster.
Great.
Still
Suck it,
Lancaster.
Ohio. Anyway.
Yeah. I love it. All right, here's the last one. Lancaster County is dotted with 29 of these, popular for scenic tours.
Covered bridges.
God, 4 for 4. You crushed it, Izzy. Very good. You know Lancaster County. Very good. Well, Izzy, a lot of people are looking to Congress right now to address what Trump and Republicans are doing, but I know that legislators like yourself have been doing a lot of things to protect people living in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
So could you just explain some of those measures?
I think the thing that I'm seeing more than anything is my colleagues going outside of the traditional pathways to help folks access food, housing, healthcare. But also, I want to take a moment to shout out our governor, if I can.
Sure.
Just because millions of Pennsylvanians didn't get their SNAP disbursements, on Monday morning, November 3rd. And our governor did two things that I think are important. One, sued the Trump administration to say, you have $6 billion with which to provide emergency SNAP funds. In fact, before you deleted it from your website, your own USDA developed the plan to use it in exactly this situation. Release the funds. And I think people want to see that. They want to see our governor standing up for their right to just live a basic life and put food on the table. Right? Okay, so that's the one side. But he also declared an emergency and released $5 million in additional funds for Pennsylvania food banks, food pantries, et cetera, et cetera. And in addition to that, raised another $1 million from private donors to support that effort. Like, that is a man who is working to make our lives better and provide for people when their federal representatives have abandoned them. People don't want the moon. Most people, when you talk to them, are not interested in our political fights. And frankly, they're not interested in the myriad intricacies of government regulations. They will remember that when they did not get their SNAP benefits, that their governor stood up for them and their right to put food on the table for their families.
I'm grateful for what you can do in Harrisburg. And of course, I'm grateful for our Democratic Governor, Josh Shapiro. He gets shit done. All right, Izzy, here's another segment I like to do with state reps. It's called Small Business Spotlight. So I'd like to just give you the floor and just promote a small business that should get some love in Lancaster County. Could be anything.
There are so many. Okay, there is a place called El Jibarito. It's right around the corner from me. They are the best empanadillas in Lancaster County. I will fight you about this. You're going to go there. You're going to order the guayaba and cheese. So that's going to be like guava jelly and like a cream cheese. And that's how you're going to set yourself up.
That sounds delicious. Do they have a drink menu, or is it strictly business, strictly food?
Gosh, they have like a pineapple coconut smoothie that I dream about sometimes.
Okay.
Yeah. I think that's probably my favorite small business in my district. But I'll be honest with you, as you know, Lancastrians are pretty enterprising. The list is pretty long.
It's easy to get carried away with this segment. It's easy to start listing them all.
It is. I'm going to list two others that I'm partial to.
Okay, fine. I'll allow it.
Thank you, sir. There is Amanita Cafe. It's the best shakshuka in Lancaster County, and
Oh, I love
shakshuka can,
shakshuka.
yes,
Nice. Okay.
it can often be hard to get. The other is sort of a one-woman show. There's a woman named Chelsea Christmas, great
Mm-hmm.
name by the way, who is a standalone fitness entrepreneur who lives in my district and will come to you kind of wherever you are, wherever you are doing your thing, and provide sort of a fitness training and routine
Mm-hmm.
for folks at all levels of athletic ability.
That sounds great. I had a personal trainer for years. Shout out to Rich Keeber, transit trainers in my area. But that's great. Well, thank you for playing that segment with me.
Yeah.
I have to come back and frequent some of these food places because I have to say I don't know if the Orange Julius is still in Park City Mall, but that was my first job. My first job as a kid was I worked at the Orange Julius in Park City Mall all those years
Nice.
ago.
I
Yeah.
used to deliver for can't anymore. Children can't anymore. But I used to deliver for Lancaster newspapers. That was my first. I was
That was your
12.
first job. Yeah, Lancaster. Oh, geez. Izzy, I've heard a long-term goal of yours is to turn Lancaster blue in a presidential election by 2032. I enjoy this goal very much. But what's your vision to accomplish this?
Thank you for this is the question I've been waiting for all night, Zeke.
There
So
you go.
thank you.
You're
Look,
welcome.
we have communities, Black folks, brown folks, East Asian folks, Southeast Asian folks, South Asian folks. We've got seniors, we've got young men, college students. All of these constituencies are represented in Lancaster County. But we really believe that if we dig in and build the kind of relationships necessary to get reliable turnout from these communities, that we can flip this county by 2032. So we've started this year. We are going to flip some school boards in parts of Lancaster County that have been Republican strongholds for decades. Once you have folks on those school boards, in those municipal seats, each of those persons acts as a sort of hub, and now the network that got them elected exists and can be leveraged for the next election. So we're going to win these school boards. We're going to reelect our governor. The next step is electing 2 Democratic county commissioners. Now, I'll tell you, that's important for our plan because we need the county to certify the elections.
Right. Yeah.
Instead of having this massive Republican push to take away the freedom to vote from thousands of people, we need a county that will certify those elections.
Well, I love the drive. I love the idea. And there are a couple of really great things you bring up. One is that all politics is local,
So
right?
local.
All politics is local. And also, I think that there are a lot of people, these blue dots and red areas, that feel despair. They feel like they're not being seen by the Democratic Party. And I just think that you shine a light on the fact that there are good people all around you. There are
Yes.
Democratic committees who are doing the work and trying to reach out and build bridges and networks. And you just have to be ready to take someone's hand and do the door knocking and do the work to elect good people into office at the local levels, your school boards, your commissioners.
Yes.
And it's going to take time. You, like we just said, we didn't say 2027.
Nope.
We didn't say 2028. We said 2032. You know, democracy is a marathon and you have to invest in there's an election every year in Pennsylvania. There's actually 2 elections every year in Pennsylvania, a primary and a general, unless there's special elections all over the place, right? So we have to be mindful of the long game. And I just think that you do a really good job of showcasing what can be done when you have a vision. And I really hope that that vision comes true in my own county of Lancaster. Izzy, what gives you hope?
I have a neighbor across the street. Her name is Kat. She's one disability. She has a lot of trouble walking all day, probably today. I know all day last week. She was calling folks to remind them to fill out and return their mail-in ballots. Now, Kat has enough going on in her life, and life isn't easy for Kat. But she saw that there was like an easy, tangible thing she could wrap her hands around to make life better for her community. And she said, I want to do that. That gives me a lot of hope. Kat comes to so many events. Even though she has to come with her cane or with her walker, even if she's in pain, and frankly, she should not have to, but she does just the same because she's got kids and grandkids. And she thinks by showing up and by making phone calls, she can make a little bit of a better world for them. And man, Zeke, isn't that just the thing? So today, Kat is the thing that gives me hope.
I often say that hope is a verb. It's
Yes.
something that we have to wake up and do every day. And we are surrounded by people who do that. And, if you can't run, walk. If you can't walk, crawl. But we just have to keep moving forward, and
Right.
that's exactly what we're going to do. And you give me hope for all the things you're doing in Lancaster County.
Thank you.
My last question for you is, what plans do you have to get yourself through these next few years?
The truth is, Zeke, I think I'm not different from most other people. I have what I have always had, which is a certain core group of people, who love me and I love them. And we try to take care of each other and look out for each other and do work in our communities in different ways. I don't have a specific, like a 10-step plan to get through to the next inauguration.
Neither do
know,
I.
yeah, I know it's going to heavily involve those folks. For anybody who's watching or listening, what they want is to isolate, alienate, and divide us. The foundation of pushing back on that is being in relationship and loving each other and taking care of each other. That's how we are going to get through these next couple of years.
I agree. Thank you so much. Representative Izzy Smith-Wade-El, Lancaster County. You're just doing such a great job. I really appreciate everything you're doing, keeping hope out there, moving forward, having a plan for the future, flipping seats. And I just can't wait to see what you do next.
Thank you, Zeke. I really appreciate it.
I really appreciate the time. And I can't wait to maybe visit sometime. We'll have some empanadas together.
We will have some empanadas. Can't wait.
You take care. Thank you so much for joining me here on the Zekely Podcast. Stay hopeful and get involved. And until next time, let's keep building a stronger Pennsylvania together.